used to get scared of very big diagrams or graphs, but actually they were not very difficult. TOPS faculty replies very instantly, I must say. So they were very helpful at all the time. I think anyone should leverage their strengths, and according to that, they should choose the sections what is working out for them. Post time practice doesn't work. Focus on the accuracy, build on it, and then you will eventually get there. It's very important not to treat any mistake as a silly mistake.
First of all, big congratulations on that score, 675, right? Quant
Yeah.
94 percentile,
Thank you.
Verbal 91 percentile, and Data Insight 86 percentile. And so the scores also speak of the same on the similar front, 87, 84, and 80. So how do you feel about the score, Shudita? You're happy with the score, 675?
Yeah, I'm happy. I mean, I know that I expected a little more, but I'm fine, like with 675.
Right. So today we are here to discuss about the entire GMAT journey. So why don't we start with, why don't you just talk about yourself, where you're currently working, and how did this entire GMAT journey come into being, into the entire whole scheme of things? What schools were you initially targeting before joining Top 1%?
I like kind of had the clarity that, I don't eventually want to work in India, and this GMAT journey actually I gave CAT 2020, and it didn't go very well. So I did start GMAT prep in 2021, but it was like only for 1 month. And after that, I started working in consulting after my college finished. So at that time, GMAT kind of took a backseat. And in 2023, like through my college friends, I came to know about Top 1%, and I approached Richa. And at that point of time, I was preparing for GMAT Classic.
Hmm.
So for that, I had already like kind of given 3 attempts, sorry, 2 attempts, like um, one in September last year and one this year, January. So I decided to take GMAT Focus Edition again. And so this time, like I got a 675, and yeah, so that's about it.
So, when you initially started with the Focus Edition, what were your relief area? Like, did you see, because there was only subtraction, right? So, when you looked at Classic to Focus Edition, what did you think was something that worked in your advantage?
So I think, yeah, obviously, I mean, SC was eliminated this time, so that was a good thing. Although, like IR being introduced was kind of like a stressor, because even in my first 2 attempts, I know that, I did not do very well on IR. Otherwise, I think it was fine, because once you start getting the hang of it, how to attempt the questions, you come to know that it's actually not very difficult. I realized that, I just used to get scared of very big diagrams or graphs, but actually they were not very difficult. You just have to take a good look at it and then understand what the question is trying to ask, and then answer the question. So
Right.
eventually, like I started to learn, how to answer those questions and how to get accuracy while balancing the time as well.
So, any specific you would say in terms of the section wise? Let's go verbal, quant, and DI per se. You mentioned DI was difficult because you never paid attention to it in the initial bit. But
Yeah.
overall, when you started preparing for it in the preparation phase itself, what were the challenging section, and what material and resources that you saw yourself going more often towards, so that you practice and then you get over with it?
So starting with the quant, like quant has always been my strongest areas. Saw Aman sir's video, everything like came back, and I kind of remembered what I'd earlier studied in school and for CAT as well. So that kind of benefited me. No matter how good you are at some topic or how bad you are at some topic, I think few days before the exam, you should just keep away yourself from those books or all those questions which have tough questions. And I practiced easy questions and tried to solve those under 1 minute or maximum 2 minutes, and that's really helped that is something really helped me in the third attempt as well. And for third attempt also, even in question 18, 19, I got such a simple question, something I was like, this is was in my eighth class maths book. It's just too good to be true. Am I again doing something wrong? But I knew that, from my previous experience, um, test givers often face these type of questions, like very easy questions, so that you get very tough questions at the end. You should save time for them. So this time, like, I was quite lucky. At the end, I had 10 to 12 minutes for one question left,
Right.
only last question. But it was so tough, like I took 9.8 minutes for that question.
Oh,
And after that question, like, I still had time. I went through each and every questions. I went through my bookmark questions also, and one question which I had marked incorrectly, I also changed it to correct. So I was quite lucky in that sense that, um this time I did not uh, give exam with any crippling mindset that why questions are not tough, or why is it so easy, or anything like that. Sandeep sir did advise me about that in previous attempts also, but again, that mindset I could have dropped in
extremely,
the
one of
first two
the things
attempts
that
as well.
you've really highlighted very well about is that do not think about the level of the question, especially when you are, do not evaluate it. This is not a part for you to evaluate in the exam. Just take the
Exactly.
question as it comes. Uh,
Yeah.
Evaluating will just not get you, you're going to waste your time, right? That
Yeah.
evaluation generally, even when you're doing the questions test also, it happens in the after you finish the test. Then you evaluate, was this difficult? Was it easy? The reason why you got a
Exactly.
good score or wrong. Something very important. And often a lot, I think I've seen some students also speak of the same thing, you know. They speak about the fact that they're evaluating, was this easy, was this difficult.
Yeah.
That mind block should be, it's one of the important things. Is there anything
Exactly.
else that was very profound that you had to find out a hard way, you would say, like any
I
other
think this only
tip?
that don't practice very tough questions like 10-15 days before your exam. And one more thing I would say, like, so for me, I really really loved studying quant, and if I used to find one way uh, through which I got the correct answer, I eventually used to go for other solutions as well. And even in some questions, where you don't find correct answer at once, don't look at the solutions immediately. Take some time. Like, if it's a permutation and combination problem, take your time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, look at the problem, and if you are not getting answer according to your methodology, fine, you look at the answer, you get to know where you were wrong. But also, like, at times I know I message the faculty also, why this particular thing in my methodology was wrong. So that was also helpful. Tops faculty replies very instantly, I must say. So they were very helpful at all the times. And whenever I used to message them with any say big doubt, small doubt, everything, they used to answer very patiently and instantly as well. So that was also very helpful.
One of the secret I could say is this itself, that if you are left with the problem for some time, there is a little struggle. If you were given the
Yeah,
answer right there, like, feeding with the food is right there, you will never know the struggle why you're going wrong. If you are with
exactly.
that problem, there is a little bit of struggle that will help you get to an answer more quicker and not
Always,
repeat
yeah.
that kind of mistake again.
Yeah,
Sometimes it goes beyond your ability to understand why you're going wrong. That's why you have Sandeep's video or the faculty. You can always
yeah,
rely. But that struggle should happen, that you should remain with the problem, if there is one, for some time before you approach somebody else. That's a great second input as well. So on the exam day of your attempt in the GMAT Focus Edition, what was the order of your, the section that you chose, and is there any reason why you chose that particular order? And in this exam attempt, did you lose out on time or were you perfect with the pacing?
this time actually timing went really great. So in my earlier exams, like I told you, I used to spend thinking that why is the question getting difficult. I did the same thing for verbal as well in my second attempt. And that, I think, kind of created the gap in my score and my the actual score and the expected score. So this time, actually, I was lucky that I had 5-6 minutes left in the end for verbal section. I had, like I told you, in the quant section, I spent last 10 minutes on one particular problem, and still I was able to go through all the answers that I have marked. In DI, it was a little problem. DI was one section, which kind of dropped my score from the expected ones because I expected a little more. So, order of sections, I first did verbal, then DI, and then quant. So, yeah, there was a particular reason that, I realized that I always need my 100% energy for verbal, and
Mm.
I knew that I was better at verbal than I was at DI. So, I wanted to play my strengths, and hence I chose verbal first and then DI. And I knew that, even if I'm exhausted, I can handle quants very well. Or even if I knew that, I have not done well in one particular section, I will not carry that baggage in quant. So that was the reason. And while also attempting full length test, I did try one or two other orders, but it didn't work out for me. Like, I maximized my score using this verbal DI quant order
Yeah.
only. So
Fantastic,
I
fantastic.
think anyone should leverage their strengths, and according to that, they should choose the sections what is working out for them. So for verbal, like I told you, I had time, and verbal, quant, they were like a quick cakewalk. Nothing was very tough, and there were no surprises in the paper. And even DI, like, a lot of questions were fine. I think they were medium to hard difficulty. Towards the end, I know that, I have done some questions incorrect, like 4 or 5 questions when the score report came in, and also in the initial little part. So that was one section. I actually faced a little bit of mental block in DI as well. And I think again, see, I knew that, while attempting Sandeep Gupta's test, I did. Uh, not perform very well in DI section always. I knew that, this section is always a make and break for me. So that is why before the exam also, like, I knew, that I have to be little extra cautious in this section. And during the paper as well, MSRs also, while I was doing the mocks, so I used to get some of them wrong, and in paper it came like very easy because MSR is always within the first 10 questions of the paper in official mocks also. So it was easy. And I was actually, while revising also, I was like, did I miss something? Did I miss something? Am I missing a point? Because there were some points, even while practice also, I used to miss very simple points and got MSRs wrong. But I think I should have just moved on. In hindsight, I feel, if I understood the question, I marked everything, whatever I understood. It was all 100% correct, but graphs and tables or one or two DS questions I got wrong. So I could have devoted more time to that, and could have gotten a better score. But again, I think there were no surprises for verbal or quant. That was all very easy. And yeah, only one question. Like, in the end only you get tough questions. So I remember last question in verbal, last question in quant. I got those questions correct, but yeah, I mean, when you're well prepared, so you know how to tackle those questions and how to eliminate those answer options, and then you can tackle tough questions as well.
Right. Perfect. Perfect. So what next for Shudita? We had this conversation with earlier
Yeah.
as well. But so what schools are you looking to apply now? And it's been some time that we had this conversation. Have you really channelized what different schools you would like to apply with the score?
Yeah, I mean, I am in talks with Autry, so I'm really looking, like, if in the Singapore area or if in the North American region. So that's still going on. So that is still in process.
Right. So you're going to be applying in the round one itself before the round one
Yeah,
ends, or some schools in round two. All right. Perfect.
yeah.
Right. So, Shudita, this is great insights that you've given, especially some of the, things that you should avoid, especially in terms of the exam day. But overall, if you would like to kind of just comprehend some of the things that could be under the to-do list and the don't list, what would you do? Like, what would you have to say overall?
So for do list, I think one thing everyone should follow is consistency. So never ever like take more than 2 days gap. Like if on Monday you are doing CRRC, then at the most by Wednesday you should touch those topics again. Never put a gap. Either if it's through a full length mock or a sectional mock or anything, just don't stay out of touch from any section for more than 2 days. I think top faculties also advised me on the same thing, and it I also could see that working out for me. Whenever I used to give little bit of break, my accuracy used to fall down. So that is, I think, a very common advice as well. No one should give, no one should give a lot of gap between sections. One thing is that, and I think another thing, I don't know if a lot of people say it or not, but anyone I think should cherish the journey. I know for a lot of people, GMAT is struggle, and it was for me as well. But I think just look forward to what you're learning, to what you're gaining from it, and just enjoy the process. I think one more thing anyone should do is not put too much pressure on the timing factor as well. Timed practice is important, no doubt in that, but don't put too much pressure that I'm not solving it under 3 minutes. If you are taking those 3 minutes, not referring to the solutions, getting the answer all by yourself, and not marking the answer with intuition, that is much more better than just forcing yourself to solve 5 questions in 10 minutes just for the sake of time practice. I think that doesn't work. Forced time practice doesn't work. Focus on the accuracy, build on it, and then you will eventually get there. A lot of times, even in my journey, it used to happen that I used to get discouraged when I saw a dip in my mock scores or dip in my sectional scores. Another thing anyone should do is like 15 days before the exam, get yourself in that exam zone, where you don't practice very tough questions. Medium to hard, somewhere medium to hard is fine. Don't practice very tough, and just give long sittings for that, and force yourself to get correct answers. In my third attempt, I realized that even if you're 99% sure about an answer choice, like say in CR questions, sometimes the option choices are really close. Don't look at the answers directly. Force yourself, think for another 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or 5 minutes, and think why you're not marking it with 100% surety. Because even when you're analyzing mock, you will always see the questions, most of the times that you will get wrong will be those where you are not 100% sure. Any answer where you are 100% sure, you are able to give uh, the logics of it, why it's correct, why it's incorrect, that will always be right. But when you are not sure about a question, it will go wrong. Anyone should take a note for that. It doesn't matter if you're solving 50 CR questions mindlessly. It doesn't work that way. Solve 20 questions and understand why you are not getting correct answer and how you can improve on your thinking. I think one more uh, thing which helped me was, yes, error log. So I did maintain a very comprehensive error log, like for my quant and everything. Quant was the most comprehensive error log. So I always copy pasted the answers from everywhere, copy pasted the questions from everywhere I had. And even in the questions, like if I wrote 6 into 8 is 24, I registered that in my error log, because it's very important not to treat any mistake as a silly mistake. I think that's the difference between a normal student and a 99th percentile, that they don't look at any mistake as their silly mistake. They do notice their subconscious patterns, because in a hurry, in exam pressure, anyone can make a mistake like 1 plus 1 is 3. It's
Mm.
not common. It has nothing to do with your capability, but you just have to track what are the kind of things you eventually end up doing in the exam, what are the kind of things that pressure you in the exam, and how to work on that.
Yes, what a comprehensive list, I would say. It was really, really very important for anyone, probably any student who's looking at. I probably would like to just share the same if I'm ever talking to any student who are going through the similar phase in terms of conversations as well. Great insights, I would tell you, Shudita. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing these insights. One of the things that I'll have to tell entire top 1% Sandeep Gupta are extremely proud of the score that you've got. And we're really happy that you chose top 1% and you chose this so you also really trusted Sandeep sir's process through this. And thank you again. Thanks for joining. We really wish to hear back very soon with the admit. Hopefully very soon. Hopefully before the end of
Sure.
this year.
Yeah,
Right?
I hope.
Okay. All right. Thank you again. You have a lovely evening. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye, Natasha. Thank you.
Bye.